Well, it's Tuesday, May 5th. I'm Brittany Noble, and here's what's coming up today on the breakdown. A growing fight over voting rights in Florida. Multiple lawsuits are now challenging a new congressional map signed by Ron DeSantis. What this means for Black and Brown communities and how this could reshape political power ahead of the next election. And the court struck down a second majority Black district in Louisiana, raising new concerns about the future of voting rights and the Act of 1965. Capitol B reporter Brandon Tinsley will join us to break it all down. Also, Dana Bradford Majors is helping our stories get told and owned. How she's helping Black authors take control of their own narratives by turning ideas into books. The breakdown begins now. We start with a breakdown of the headlines and stories that you need to know about from across Black America. Voters in Indiana and Ohio headed to the polls today for their state primaries. The races garnering the most national attention include Indiana's state Senate race and Ohio's governor race, although the Republican and Democratic gubernatorial contests are not believed to be competitive primaries. Indiana's 9 House seats are up for election, in addition to 25 of 50 seats in the state Senate and all 100 seats in the state House. All 15 of Ohio's House seats will be on the ballot too. These 2026 races come amid a mid-decade redistricting war and the Supreme Court's recent decision to eliminate a pillar of the Voting Rights Act that protects against racial discrimination in voting and representation. In Florida, voting rights groups are taking legal action against the state's new congressional map, one of the most extreme gerrymanders in American history. The Southern Poverty Law Center, Southern Coalition for Social Justice, and Democracy Defenders Fund have filed a lawsuit in Leon County challenging the map signed into law by Governor Ron DeSantis earlier this year. Under the new congressional map, Republicans who currently control 20 of Florida's 28 districts could gain as many as 4 additional congressional seats. The 71-page complaint argues the map violates the state's Fair District Amendments passed by voters in 2010 to ban partisan gerrymandering and asks the court to block the map before it can take effect. Plaintiffs say the map was rushed through a special session with little public input and could weaken representation in areas like Tampa, Orlando, and parts of South Florida, including districts that have historically represented Black and Latino communities. Well, Black MAGA influencer named Craig Long, who recently posed with President Donald Trump at a UFC event, has been arrested in Florida as part of a multi-day human trafficking sting. Long, 41, is the owner of Craig Long Fitness in Tampa and is a self-described MAGA and social media influencer. Police have accused him of seeking the services of a prostitute. The multi-agency operation targeted both those seeking to exploit minors and individuals soliciting prostitutes. Long was among 266 people arrested, including January 6 rioter Ryan Yates and 2 men who allegedly brought children along to their illegal meetups in Polk County, Florida. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd spoke about the massive bust last Friday morning, and he did not hold back on some of the people caught in the sting.
Then there's Craig Long we arrested. He's 41. Some of you may recognize him. He's an influencer. He also owns Craig Long Fitness in Tampa. He was seeking the services of a prostitute. Did I tell you that he's married? That he's got 125 followers on Instagram, 568 followers on TikTok? Well, I'm going to give him some content for his social media today. He was a previous felon who straightened up, really what we want to see in life. Now he's an influencer. You know, he moves in big circles, even with the president. This is a photograph with the president and his son not long ago. Now, we like to see people who make mistakes early in life, and he had a long history straighten up. We like the fact that he likes the cops. Heck, he liked them so much, he got caught up in a sting and got to be up and real close with the cops. We asked what his attitude was. They said, oh, he had a great attitude. He appreciates law enforcement. Well, there you go. Got arrested in the human trafficking sting. Influenced that for a while.
Well, 2 mass shootings over the weekend left a total of more than 30 people injured and 2 teenagers dead. The first shooting came Saturday at a party being thrown at an apartment complex in Amarillo, Texas. Police say that the party, full of teens and young adults, turned deadly when a group that had previously been asked to leave showed back up. When they were unable to regain entry, police say the group began shooting. 2 boys ages 17 and 16 were killed, and another 10 people were injured. And while police say they've identified suspects, no arrests have been made. And the weekend's second mass shooting came on Sunday night at a campground 13 miles north of Oklahoma City, leaving 23 people hurt, with 13 people hospitalized. The chaos unfolded around 9:00 p.m. during a party being held at a campground near Acadia Lake. That's about 13 miles north of Oklahoma City. One of the 18-year-old witnesses told the local media that about 250 people were present at that party, which had been widely promoted across social media, and that the trouble began when a group of girls got into an argument about their boyfriends. Police have said that the shooting was later committed by 2 men wearing ski masks, and that they are no suspects right now in custody. Well, in the coming weeks, lawmakers in Mississippi will be meeting inside the historic old Capitol building in Jackson, where the state's leaders once voted to secede from the Union before the Civil War. In order to reconsider drawing the state's Supreme Court districts, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves has called a special session for May 20th in order for state lawmakers to consider the district lines, because the House chamber in the current Capitol is undergoing renovations. So all House leaders chose to move to the old Capitol Museum for the special session. Well, some, I should say. The redistricting session comes after a recent decision by the U.S. Supreme Court weakened protections under the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Lawmakers are now under pressure to redraw those districts, raising concerns they could further dilute Black voting power. In Florida, Demetria Coley is making history. She's now the youngest graduate in Florida State University's College of Nursing, earning her degree at just 18 years old. She was homeschooled by her father, a science teacher, and by 15, she had already earned her associate degree from Tallahassee State College, becoming the youngest graduate in that school's history. Now, her path was accelerated from the start. She graduated high school and college at the same time, then completed prerequisites at Florida A&M University before enrolling at FSU. She is following in the footsteps of her mother, Alicia Coley, a nurse who passed away from ovarian cancer in 2020 when Demetria was just 13 years old. So now she's turning that loss into purpose. During her time at FSU, she trained at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, and now she plans to work as a neonatal intensive care unit nurse. Well, coming up today on The Breakdown, right after the break, a major decision from the U.S. Supreme Court. We'll discuss what it means for Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act with Capital B reporter Brandon Tinsley right after the break. So stay with us. And remember, for more news headlines and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day, please visit the Black Star Network. We're your source for stories that matter to our community. We'll be right back.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
I'm Risa Colbert, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
Well, here on the breakdown, we've been following a major decision out of Louisiana, one that civil rights leaders say could have ripple effects far beyond that one state. In a 6-3 ruling, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a newly drawn congressional map that included a second majority Black district. The court's conservative majority said the map relied too heavily on race. Now this decision directly impacts a district represented by Cleo Field. But another concern is what it means for Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, one of the last major tools used to challenge racial discrimination in voting. Louisiana is about 1/3 Black and for years had just one district where Black voters could elect a candidate of their choice. That second district was seen as a hard-fought win. Now, many say that that is being taken away. Let's bring in Brandon Tinsley. He's a reporter for Capital B who has been closely following this story. Brandon, thank you for your time here on The Breakdown.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So break down this for us, like exactly what did the court decide here and why this ruling is so significant?
Yeah, so essentially what the court was saying, the conservative majority was saying that Louisiana had thought about race too much when they were creating this district. Justice Samuel Alito said that this was unconstitutional. And so what the court effectively did was strike down that map that had just been signed into law in 2024, saying that it was unconstitutional. And so what this means is it has, implications beyond Louisiana, I think, because Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is supposed to protect against what they call vote dilution. So basically drawing maps in a way that makes it difficult for ethnic and racial minorities to elect the candidate of their choice. And so because Section 2 is really like one of the last sort of tools that a lot of voting rights and civil rights activists saw as being able to protect against vote dilution, there are a lot of concerns about how different states, especially states in the South where most Black people live, might draw maps in a way that dilutes Black voters' political power by saying that we're doing this to help one party. They're saying like, we're not doing this to disenfranchise or to harm Black voters, but we're doing this instead to help our party. And that's just a really, really difficult argument to make, especially in the South in this country, because of how parties are sorted between different racial and ethnic groups, with a lot of Black voters voting Democratic. And so it just creates this like really thorny, messy situation where people are wondering, are we going to sort of like move to a place where the courts say that it's okay to dilute Black voters' political power as long as you say that you're doing it for political reasons and not for racial reasons.
Explain to us how this argument conflicts with the purpose of the Voting Rights Act.
Yeah, the Voting Rights Act, signed into law in 1965 with the express purpose of creating a country that actually sort of lives up to its multiracial democratic ideals. This was sort of in the thick of the Jim Crow era, coming out of the Jim Crow era, when even though Black people were technically allowed to vote, there were tons of different tactics that different states used to prevent Black people from voting. You often hear people talk about the poll tax or literacy tests. And so the Voting Rights Act was this really muscular law that was supposed to make it such that Black people have not only the right to vote, but also the right for their votes to count, for their votes to matter. The Voting Rights Act was born directly out of what was happening after Reconstruction with the 15th Amendment, which guaranteed the right to vote. It's impossible to really look at this situation without also thinking about the history tied into it. I've heard a lot of voting rights experts tell me that the Voting Rights Act really was, it's the most significant civil rights law, federal civil rights law that this country has ever had. And now, especially since 2013, we've just seen the different ways that this law has been weakened, defanged, eroded. There are potentially massive implications about what this means for Black people to be able to participate in the elections and the voting process and the democracy of this country.
Can you also talk about specifically what it means for the people that are in Cleo Fields area?
Yeah, so Cleo Fields has only been in office since the beginning of 2025. He won that election in 2024 after Louisiana's new map was signed into law. And so for voters I've talked to who are involved with the case, who live in Cleo Fields district, for them, this didn't only have sort of symbolic representation. Louisiana having a voting map that actually reflected its racial composition. But for them, it also had very real sort of material gains. So thinking about having someone in Congress who will say, like, actually the roads in parts of this town, depending on where you live, are not suitable for driving. One woman described it to me as like driving across a laundry board. Schools not having enough funding, public schools not having enough funding, or hospitals being far away, or emergency rooms shutting down. I think often when people are talking about voting rights, we're thinking about it in maybe a sort of abstract way. And that's important. But I think especially for people in majority Black districts, where after years of legal fights, they finally have a representative who can go to Washington, say, like, my district needs X, Y, Z, to have that sort of suddenly taken away or threatened, it makes them fear for what will their material circumstances look like in the years ahead if they don't have someone in Congress who understands the community that he's supposed to represent.
I'm personally having a hard time understanding how do we go from a second majority Black district and then now the Supreme Court striking this map down. How do we get here?
Yeah, it's very because the Supreme Court in 2023 actually was saying, with Alabama, upheld Alabama redrawing their map so that they have a second majority Black congressional district. But what a lot of voting rights experts told me was it was less the Supreme Court, which still had a conservative majority then, saying, like, actually, we think that this is a very important sort of reflection to have in the map, reflecting the racial composition of Alabama. What some voting rights experts told me in my reporting was what the court was actually saying was it feels a little too egregious, the way that Alabama lawmakers were disenfranchising Black voters, essentially. And so to basically, like, go out and come again, but have a more sort of compelling argument why there shouldn't be two majority Black congressional districts. And so I think what some people have told me is like Louisiana seems like that do again sort of process, where it says like, okay, like if we say that it's unconstitutional to have a second majority Black district because it relies too much on race or it discriminates against voters who aren't Black, which is a real argument that some people involved in the case were making. Then that sort of gives the court the ability to say, like, actually, this seems like a compelling reason to invalidate this map. And so I think for people to sort of be like, it's sort of like a whiplash situation where, different actors in Louisiana, they created this map, they signed it into law, and then to have the court sort of agree with the argument that this is somehow racially discriminatory against non-Black people. I think is something that the word that a lot of people I spoke to, since the court issued that decision, the word that they kept coming back to was disappointment. They have said that they remember what it was like to not have representation in Congress, the kind of representation that they felt like helped their circumstances. And so then to see the court sort of get to this place where, it's invalidating that map. They just said it's creating this feeling of just massive, extreme disappointment with the direction that the country seems to be going in.
And you spoke with people directly impacted, like Press Robinson. What are you hearing from Black people, Black voters on the ground right now in Louisiana?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes some of them, there's that feeling of disappointment, but I think there's also been this feeling of sort of renewal in terms of fighting. It's almost like having to go through the different stages of grief, where, there's this sort of mourning period that I think people are going through, that's then followed by a feeling of resolve, of sort of needing to fight. And so what I've been hearing from people in Louisiana in particular is, they're already filing lawsuits. They're already challenging challenging the court's decisions, challenging the decision of the Louisiana governor, Jeff Landry, to suspend their primary elections when the election has, early voting had already begun. And so we're seeing a sort of uptick in litigation. So as disappointing as the situation is, what I'm hearing from a lot of Louisiana residents is, the fight's not over. One woman used the expression, this is a chance to, like, I'm rolling up my sleeves. I want to figure out a way to push back as much as I can.
I know Derek Johnson with the NAACP is calling this decision a betrayal of democracy. Do you think that reflects just how serious this moment is?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's interesting about this is about this particular court decision is I think for communities who will be impacted by it, people who work sort of in that space with civil rights, voting rights, they really understand just how impactful this decision will be. One person with the NAACP, Kristen Clark, he used to be an assistant attorney general in the Biden administration, told me that she thinks this is, maybe the biggest Supreme Court decision in the 21st century, which, I think is a really powerful sort of statement when you think about other sort of voting rights decisions that have occurred. But I think part of that fear about how big the decision is comes from what we've talked about with the ripple effects, the potential ripple effects. It won't stay contained to Louisiana, but we're already seeing state legislators throughout the South, in South Carolina, in Alabama, in Tennessee, in Florida, who are making moves to also redraw their maps in a way that favors one party over another. But as I said, we know that partisan lines often overlap a lot with racial lines in this country.
To the people who are watching at home who just may still feel frustrated and discouraged, any last words about what they should understand about this fight?
Yeah, I would say too, like, really, I think take heart in what some of the plaintiffs in the case have been saying. I found it very discouraging. I think as someone who, has been covering this case for years now, as I think sobering as the decision was, just as a Black person in this country, I've actually found a lot of maybe comfort in the words of some of the people who have lived through different generations of voting rights have had to say about this. And so I would encourage people to maybe seek out what people have been saying. It's been in our reporting at Capital B, but really just highlighting the people on the ground who are most impacted, but taking heart in some of the things that they've been saying about what they want to do in the years ahead.
Brandon Tinsley with Capital B, we appreciate you for joining us today on The Breakdown and breaking this all down for us.
Of course. Thank you.
Absolutely. Coming up after the break, Roland Martin breaks down what he calls the GOP's war on Black America after a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court sets the stage for a redistricting battle in Mississippi. And have you come across a news story that deserves our attention? We want to hear from you. We want to add the story to our lineup here on the show. Please submit your ideas to us. There's a QR code. Scan that, connect with us, and we will be right back. Stay with us. You're watching The Breakdown.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of Black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased Black voters. Their goal, erase Black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
What's happening? This is your man, Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching the Black Star Network.
Black and Missing segment, we're asking for your help in finding Benjamin Brothwaite. He's been missing since April 27th, around 9:30 p.m. in the 4000 block of Regency Trace Southwest in Atlanta. That's in Georgia. If you have any information, please contact the Atlanta Police Department. The number to reach them, it's 404-546-4260. On Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland talks about the GOP war on Black America as the Supreme Court of the United States triggers Mississippi redistricting special session.
Let me go to Tennessee, where we have our Charlene Oliver. She's a Tennessee state senator. In your state, we have seen the Republican governor, Bill Lee, call for a special session. They took apart the Nashville congressional seat, split it up into 3 or 4 different Republican seats. Now they want to turn Memphis into a red seat. And what Republicans are saying is if the whole state supports the Republican Party or they vote red, well, the whole state should be red. Well, Memphis ain't red. Memphis is blue. So they want to wipe out black power in Memphis. And even though Steve Cohen, who's white, congressman, represents Memphis, that historically has been a seat held by an African-American. State Representative Justin Pearson is running against him in the primary. So they want a white conservative Republican to be representing Memphis.
That's right, Roland. But you know what? Memphis has the right to choose who they want to be their representative. And if that's Congressman Cohen, so be it. If that's Representative Pearson, so be it. But they get that choice. And what's happening now with this special session is Republicans are trying to take that choice away from them and essentially steal another House seat so that Donald Trump can keep his majority in Congress. So what Memphis is a naturally occurring Black district. It just so happens to be Black. There is nothing about the congressional 9th district that is, supposed to be a Black district. It just so happens to be a Black district. And the way that it is drawn is drawn around the county lines. And so it is a naturally occurring Black district. And now they're trying to say, after all these years, that now somehow it is unconstitutional to have a district drawn this way.
But what you also have there in Tennessee, you have a state law. And I saw, I'm trying to look for it right now, you had a Republican. You have a Republican who said, wait a minute, what are we doing right here? We're breaking the law if we do this here. And if they don't completely replace the district, I wouldn't be shocked if what they do to Memphis is what they did in Nashville, split Memphis into 3 or 4 congressional districts as their way of decimating that position.
Yeah, we know this is calculated and it is intentional to take away the ability of Black folks in Memphis to be able to elect who they want. And it's also illegal because in our Tennessee code, it explicitly says that you cannot redraw maps between apportionments. So what we are doing here with the special session is illegal and unconstitutional. And so what the first things that they're probably going to do is have to change the law, which is such a far-reaching norm outside of what we've done when we redistrict in Tennessee. This is outside the norms of what we do when we redraw lines.
So what do you need people to do? Listen, if they call a special session, what I keep saying, we have got to have our people flood the state legislature. We've got to be, doing all we can, protesting and making it loud. But while that is happening, we also got to be mobilizing and organizing and registering our people. So whatever they do, we maximize our power, because the problem is we can't have weak Black voter turnout. Tennessee, like every other southern state, they must feel maximum Black pain at the ballot box. And that means showing up in numbers that we have not seen since the election of Obama in 2008.
That's right. We need people to, first of all, wake up to what's going on. We are in the Civil War. We are not doing it with bullets. We are doing it with the ballot at this point, and they are redrawing maps to do it. So we need people to show up at the Capitol in droves from Memphis to Mountain City. And this is just not a fight for Memphis to fight on by themselves. We need the entire state to show up, pack the Capitol, let them know that we're not going for this. And look, the Republicans started this. They set the new precedent that the gloves are off. So we need to match the energy. So this is not the time to be cute and conform. This is the time to rise up and say, look, we're not going for this, hell or high water.
Absolutely. Senator Oliver, keep us abreast of what happens in Tennessee. We're going to be covering this. I know people are planning rallies, so we want to be able to live stream that stuff because we need all of our people completely engaged, because I keep trying to explain to folks that when you wipe out Black political power, you're wiping out access to billions of dollars in the legislative process when it comes to the city, the county, the school board, the state, the federal as well. And so folks need to understand that this is real. This is absolutely a state of emergency in Black America. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to Mississippi. We have Representative Kareem, so glad to have you here. So here's the deal. Your state, 38% black. And so what these white Republicans in Mississippi are likely going to do is they're going to say, we don't give a damn if that's the case. They want to wipe out black political power. And I'm telling you, this to me is very similar to what happened in 1890 when those white racist Dixiecrats were upset that black people kept winning in Mississippi. The Republicans in Mississippi are mad that the federal courts kept ruling against them. And the problem is this Supreme Court, with this Louisiana versus Calais decision, has now given these Republicans the power to say, oh, no, we're not sitting here creating districts by race. We're creating this because we can do partisan. They have given these white conservatives an excuse to completely decimate black political power in Mississippi.
You're absolutely correct. And to add insult to injury, Roland, we're having our special session at the old Capitol where they adopted the 1890 Constitution. Now, some might say that no malicious intent was done, but it's a slap in the face to the 1.2 million black folks here in the state of Mississippi. And yes, it's 40% of us in this state. Where are you going to go? You want to take out my dear friend, Congressman Thompson? Where are you going to put 40% of black folk in the state? We are the largest black populated of peak black folk in the country. What you going to do with us? We got to be somewhere. We're not going out rolling like that. It's a fight. And we're prepared to do what's necessary.
I was in Mound Bayou, Mississippi on Friday doing a show from there. We went to Shreveport, Louisiana on Thursday. And I'm telling you, what has to happen is, just like Freedom Summer took place, when you had these college students who made their way to Mississippi and other southern states, the same thing has to happen. We've got to have the largest mass black voter mobilization since Obama's election, because everything that we're seeing, I need everybody listening and watching to understand, everything that we're seeing today is a direct reflection on black voter turnout in 2008 and 2012 that scared the hell out of these white conservatives. It was the first time in American history where black people voted at a higher percentage than white Americans. And they've said since then, not again, we ain't gonna have this. And so all of this, the Shelby v. Holder, all the lawsuits, the affirmative action lawsuit, this lawsuit, the battles over the seats in Alabama and Louisiana is all about how do we destroy 60-plus years of black political progress.
You're absolutely right. And folks need to also, look, we just started practicing democracy in 1965. And here, I'm the chairman of over 58 black men and women. We started out as a caucus of one back in 1967. And he was adopted, he was seated. But before he got seated, Roland, his desk was taken out the front door of the Capitol and sawed in half. And he was a caucus of one for 8 years. And now in 2026, the late Robert G. Clark, our emeritus leader, is turning over in his grave for a situation that should have been taken care of generations ago. But I'm telling you this, our seats have blood on them, and we are not going out without a fight. We've got 40% of black folks in the state of Mississippi. Where are you going to put them? If you move one of us, it's going to affect this super majority that they have. So they have to take that in mind as well. And they've been talking about it too. I saw a very conservative person running for governor saying, don't be so quick to move any lines because it can mess up the super majority that we have in the state of Mississippi. But we have to fight, Roland. We have to inform the public. The Black Caucus is going on tour, going to every town, hamlet, and village, making people aware of what's going on with this Calais case. And look, this is not the time to go to sleep. This is not the time to stop fighting. The work is just starting, and we're ready for it, Roland. And we're asking clergy, elected officials, grandma, grandpa, senior citizens, if you got one fang, one claw, it ain't the time to retire and go sit on the porch. We need you, all hands on deck right now here in Mississippi.
Absolutely. Representative Kareem, Mississippi Black Caucus, we surely appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
And tonight on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland will examine the Supreme Court's recent decision to allow a ruling that limits a significant aspect of the Voting Rights Act to take effect early. This decision increases the likelihood that Republicans will be able to implement a new congressional map in Louisiana before the November election. So don't miss it. That conversation, it starts at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight, only on the Black Star Network. Coming up after the break, one woman is helping Black authors take control of their stories and turn their words into legacy. I'll be talking with Dana Bradford Majors of B Majors Publishing right after the break. Stay with us.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
What's happening? This is your man, Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching the Black Star Network.
Welcome back. For the Noble Spotlight today, we're highlighting a woman using the power of storytelling to uplift voices that too often go unheard. From helping aspiring authors bring their stories to life to making sure Black voices are not just included, but centered, our next guest is building legacy through literature. Joining us now is Dana Bradford, founder of B Majors Publishing. Dana, welcome to The Breakdown. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you again.
It's great to see you. Tell us about your story. What inspired you to launch your publishing company?
So it was just an amazing story that happened with my son and I. We were going to work at school, and he basically told me that humans could fly certain things. And I just said it was an amazing story, and I wanted to share that to the world. And of course, when 2020 happened, that was the time of fruition. And so by that time, we sold over 300 copies in 3 months. And so it just propelled from there. And so it's been an exciting journey.
Oh, that's awesome. Tell us about representation. Why is it so important that Black authors not only get published, but have ownership and control of their story?
So you want to make sure that you create literary experiences, right? You want kids, just kids in general, to see themselves and to build confidence and connect learning to real life. Mm-hmm. And so what started as something for my own children is grown to a platform that's reaching not only families, schools, but also communities across the country.
Black Star Network is here.
I'm real
the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads, let's go! We show up, not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together. We organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
This week at the Black Table, we discuss a place, an idea, a dream, and a reality that everybody on the planet should know about. A place called Mound Bayou.
What about black people creating their own country, not from the outside in, but from the inside out?
That's next on the Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America. They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory, attack woke, DEI. MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
I'm Risa Colbert, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
We want to welcome everyone back to the breakdown, and we want to thank you for your patience as we deal with some technical difficulties. I want to welcome back to this stage Dana Bradford. She was telling us about her publishing company and the amazing things that she's doing in our community, helping us make sure that our stories get told. It was just very enlightening to hear about you and your son and your relationship and how that really helped to launch your publishing company. I want you to tell us a little bit more about how you can help authors take an idea to a finished book. Tell us a little bit more about your company and the work that it is that you can do for us.
So essentially, we have to go back to the bare basics, the minimum and foundation, which is brainstorming. So if you have an idea, don't be afraid to essentially get it out there and write it down. So we depend so much on technology now that we literally have a computer in our bodies, which is our brains. So what we do is just write it down, get your idea out, do a rough draft, like something that we just always did when we were growing up. You know, I might be telling my age, but at the same time, we want to make sure that you get those ideas out so that way you can enhance and expand those. And so ultimately with that, I host workshops that allow people to come in and say, these are the steps. And if you do not want to go through regular, or I would say just publishing companies, you can self-publish yourself.
And you've helped a wide range of authors. What are some of the most powerful or impactful stories that you were able to help bring to life?
So I would honestly say the most impactful stories that we've brought to life were essentially our own, because we want to make sure that representation is important and confidence starts early. We started with Humans Can't Fly, of course, because big boys aren't afraid of outer space. Our most recent one is Atreyu, the Azul axolotl, where he turns into an axolotl after he gets bitten. And so it's just a wide range and a variety of stories that we want to get out there. So we show people who, you know, ultimately our Black and brown kids can be creative as well. And it's not just so happens that they're Black children creating stories. They're stories created by Black children.
Dana, let's talk about legacy. You know, how does publishing a book shift generational wealth and really even heal families?
It's been an amazing journey, I will honestly say. It has an opportunity to bring you closer together, having conversations with my children and allowing them to realize that this company is not just mine. This company also belongs to them. They are also co-owners of the company as well. So if I decide to step away and do other things such as public speaking or anything of that nature, this is something that they can own and they can cultivate for their own and however they want to and see fit. So it's very important that they understand that this is a legacy that continues on just outside, not only outside of me, but for them as well.
We know access is a big barrier. What are some of those challenges that Black authors often face in the publishing industry today?
We often face, unfortunately, stories that people claim that they don't want to hear. They'll give you the same blanket response. Oh, this is very well written. However, ... But the biggest thing I would say is not wanting to hear our stories and also essentially financial backing and support. And that's something that we also need to be made aware of as well. You have grants and you have things of that nature that can allow you to self-publish and get your businesses out there and your stories out there. So that's also something that I talk about and I look into as well and help people with that.
Dana, for those folks that are watching at home right now and they feel inspired, let us know how they can connect with you and what should be their first step toward becoming a published author.
I would say do it afraid. I always take the first step. No matter if you have it together or not, it's never going to be a perfect time to do that. The way to connect to me is info@bmajorspublishing.com. You can also go to my website, which is bmajors.com. Instagram and also Facebook is going to be under bmajors.com. So you can access that at any point in time. Feel free to send me an email if you would like for me to do workshops, author talk tours, anything of that nature. We'll be more than happy to come and assist.
Well, Dana, thank you so much for joining us today. Dana Bradford, the founder of B Majors Publishing. Thank you for the work that you're doing and the work that you're doing to make stories are told and preserved and even owned by us. Thank you so much for doing
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, folks, if you know somebody in the community who deserves the Noble Spotlight, we want to hear from you. Please share with us your noble thoughts. There's a QR code on the screen right now. Scan it and let us know what you think or who we should be speaking with. And coming up right after the break, stay with us. We will tell you about an educator who is using STEM to open doors for the next generation. Stick with us. We'll tell you about Nyla Nova after the break.
to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violent restraint, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America.
They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory. Attack woke, DEI.
MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
Welcome back. For the culture today, I had an opportunity to sit down with CEO and founder of a Midwest organization creating interactive STEM curriculum and experiences in school and beyond. Nyla Nova STEMversity. Nikisha Washington shares her mission to educate, empower, and equip young minds and her leading force behind Nyla Nova. Take a look. A new approach to education is tackling two major gaps at once: early literacy and STEM learning. And it's starting with our youngest students. The Nyla Nova STEMversity program is designed for pre-K through third graders, combining science, technology, engineering, and math with reading and writing to strengthen both skill sets early on. But what makes this initiative stand out? It doesn't stop with students. Through its program, families are also brought into this learning process, helping parents become more active partners in their child's education. Joining me now to break it all down is Nikisha Washington. Thanks for joining us and telling us all about Nyla Nova STEMversity.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm super excited. This is awesome.
Oh, we are so excited to have you too. Tell us a little bit about the organization and how you got started.
So I am a science teacher by trade, assistant principal. I've opened up several schools. And one of the things is that when I had my daughter, I was like, I need to do something early on. Being a middle school science teacher, most of the kids, especially girls and girls of color, would come in and say, I can't do science. I don't like science. And I was like, well, oh, we have to change that. And part of the reason was because they didn't see anyone that looked like them at an early age. And so that's kind of what we started with, starting as early as 3 years old. We started with a children's book, and now it's gone into a whole full curriculum and program.
And tell us a little bit about Nyla and why she's so special to you.
So because I call myself a do-it-againer. My youngest son was a senior in high school when Nyla came along, and I was like, what am I gonna do with this little girl? and so she would follow me everywhere, of course. And then when I would go in my classroom and setting up my labs, she would pick up stuff like beakers and different things. And she was like, what is this? What is this? And I was telling her, and a light bulb hit, and it was like, why aren't we starting early? Kids are so curious at a young age. They want to know everything. And that's what she did. And so she did not let me stop. Like, I had to show her how to do the lab and all those things. And so that's kind of how it started. And I said, well, you're going to be my science superhero. And so her name is Nyla Dene, but we came up with the character Nyla Nova as our Mickey Mouse of things. And so we have our character Nyla Nova.
And so with your character, you've been able to combine STEM with literacy. That's something we don't often see. Why is that connection so important, especially early on?
So early on, we know that the best way to get kids to learn and to do excellent and have great literacy skills is by exposing them early. And so we started with our book where it's not just talking about, like Jane outside running and Sally's doing this. It's actually a character that looks like them or looks like the person, so Nyla Nova. But then she's also introducing some STEM skills. So we call it STEM ventures. So she's taking them on adventures using STEM tools. So they might have to use a beaker, or they might have to use a microscope, or they're creating a glider. And so it's bridging those two. And that's something that I've been learning on this educational journey, is that you have to bridge those two. We keep teaching in isolation. We have a reading class, we have a science class. Let's bridge them together, because kids get excited through science, and then we have their reading and math combined.
Walk us through what these year-long intensive interventions look like day to day.
Yeah, day to day. So what we have done now is we're going into after-school programs, some during the day, STEM enrichment programs. And so our focus is 1 hour of intensive learning. Probably twice a week is ideal for a 6-week period. And so we have them based on different themes. So some can be aviation, some is engineering, robotics, but a lot of it starts with just hands-on learning. And from that, the kids get, we come in, we dance, we even have a music video. We get them excited. We come in there like Nyla Nova taking over. We have a music video. So they're excited. They're like, here comes Nyla Nova. And we do like little Nyla Nova chants. We start off with trivia. We get their brains excited, and then we do a lot of working together where they might be building a kite, where they're learning about flight and drag and stuff that most adults are like, what are you talking about? And they're as young as 5 years old, are really speaking the language of engineers and aerospace engineers and all those types of things, and scientists and doctors. And so they're starting this early. We even do dissection. We have 5-year-olds dissecting a starfish and a squid, perch, cow's heart. And so it's so funny. My granddaughter, who's 5, she's scared of ladybugs, but she would go and start dissecting a squid with nothing, because she's been watching and she wants to do that, and she's excited about it.
Tell us why it's important for you to include parents and grandparents, caregivers in this model.
It's very important, because just me being a teacher, I knew how important it was to bring in our families as partners. It shouldn't be, oh, well, they teach them at home and I teach them, and we're partners together. And so I noticed when our students would come talk about Nyla Nova, they would go home and super excited. And parents would be like, who is this Nyla Nova? Or we'll see them out at like the in the neighborhood store, and they'll be like that, because we call ourselves professors. They'll be like, there go my professor. And their parents be like, when did you go to college? Like, what is this? And so we realized that it was important to bring the families along, because the families were excited. We're doing stuff that some of the moms and dads had never done. They're like, you're dissecting? I didn't get a chance to dissect in high school. And you're dissecting at 5 years old. And it's really bridging those gaps of like generational learning, bringing it back together. And so parents feel empowered that they have the support system, because they don't have to say, well, I wasn't good at STEM, so I don't know how to help you. We're right alongside of them.
And what would you say to those families and those parents who may feel intimidated by STEM? What would you say to encourage them to get involved?
Get involved. With a program like ours, we break it down. We make it super fun and exciting and simple, and we build on those foundational blocks. We don't want anyone to feel intimidated. That's what I noticed as a teacher. Students just felt intimidated by the name. I said science, and you would thought they like, no. And I'm like, it's not that you can't do it. You just haven't been exposed, and someone has shown you how to break it down to smaller bites so you can build on those foundational skills. So I say jump right in along with your students. You will have fun, you will learn, and you guys will build that connection together.
Tell us, what's your long-term plans for this?
Oh my goodness. So right now we are manufacturing our own STEM kits, which comes with videos produced by Nyla herself. Okay. These STEM kits come with workbooks, videos, support systems for not just parents, but for educators as well. And so we are even putting them in multi-languages. They come in Japanese, Chinese, Spanish. And so we're steady expanding. So our long-term goal is to be a global organization. That's why I call myself the Global STEM Station. But we are trying to be global, and not even only having that, but having brick and mortar learning centers that we're calling Nyla Nova STEMtopia. It's a mixture of Disneyland, Chuck E. Cheese, Children's Museum,
wow,
STEM learning all into one big thing. And so we're super excited about it. And just you can see the fun and excitement. We're calling us the Disney of STEM. And so if you think about it, it's multi-generational, it's fun, but it's also learning.
Okay, Nikisha, we love this. How can we get involved?
Yeah, so many ways. Our website is nylanovastem.com. Everything social media is Nyla Nova STEM. And we also have a foundation, Nyla Nova Foundation, for those that, say, well, how can I, support it financially or with volunteer hours? We have that as well. So nylaNovaFoundation.org. We're always accepting sponsors from big businesses, small businesses, because one thing with our STEM kits, we can co-brand it. So you can have your logo on it. You can say donated by, like we are very much customizing anything that, because we wanted to get into the hands of those that need it the most. So we're just making STEM education accessible for all. No language barrier, no location barrier, none of those. We are tackling all those and one-stop shop, Nyla Nova STEM.
Oh, that's perfect. Anything else you'd like to leave with our viewers at home that may be on the fence about utilizing this program in their own home?
Well, one of the things is that we have great customer service because it's been tested over and over. Okay. Anytime you have a problem, you can contact us. We will definitely walk you through it. We will exchange anything. We just really want to be a partner. We don't want to have that barrier where they feel intimidated. And there's a lot of STEM curriculum out there that you get it. And it's just, I've had it. And it's like, I don't know what to do with it. And I couldn't call anyone. No one would get on a call, FaceTime and walk me through it. We do that. We are very personable. We don't matter what time or day, we are there for you. And that's why I said this is definitely, it's for us, by us.
Oh, this is wonderful. For us, by us. Nikisha Washington, thank you so much for creating the space, Nyla Nova STEMversity. And we just appreciate you for making a space for our youth to grow and succeed.
Thank you. Thank you. It's you know what, it takes a village. So I'm super excited that we're able to do this and other people are seeing how great it can be and the impact that we're making.
Well, that's going to do it for us today on The Breakdown. Thanks for spending part of your day with us, and be sure to keep the conversation going online. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great day.